All right. So, light and love, peace and blessings. What tonight's discussion is going to be about is the origin of man. We are going to talk about, we are going to explore some of the basic concepts that our brothers and sisters from times past have thought of. We're going to look at the development of this concept, right? Because when a lot of the times when we think about the origin of man, when we think about the evolution of species, we typically talk Darwin. We think the evolution of man happened with Darwin, but has we're going to explore tonight, what's going to be shown to you is that the melanated mind was the first one to discuss that man has gone through stages in his or her development on this planet. But like always, the Western man has taken that idea and not credited where it belongs, right? Now we have to understand that this is just basic common knowledge that is going to have to be understood with the people. The people must understand that the Egyptians, the ancient Kemites, had a vast amount of knowledge, right? But they also had a vast amount of knowledge that was not shared. That's fact. Now the problem with that is this: we have to kind of reconstruct exactly how and what the Kemetic knowledge was. And then a lot of the ways that we can do this is looking at the different philosophies and the different people that Kemet influenced, right? So the first before we even the first thing we're going to discuss is the very fact that there was a lot of the Greek philosophers. The What we know has Greek philosophy is really stolen African philosophy, stolen melanated philosophy that was not given its credit. You understand? You understand what I'm trying to say here? So what ended up happening was the Greeks went into Egypt, studied Egyptian philosophy, then came back to Greece, started their own schools, and said, "This is my philosophy," right? So let's take a look, right? What am I talking about? Like, you know, does this make any sense? What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? Right? So let's take a look at some of the early philosophers, right, that came out of Kemet, right? So there was this man named Diodorus of Sicily, right? He wrote 40 books on world history, and he makes a list of all of the Greeks who studied in Kemet. He says Daedalus, Democritus, Daedalus, who was the creator of the labyrinth myth, Democritus, who developed the atomist theory, Eudoxus, Homer, Lycurgus, Melampus, Messus, Onipides, Orpheus, Plato, Pythagoras, Solon, and Thales. All of these were Greek philosophers who studied in Kemet, right? What was Orpheus? Orpheism was a doctrine that was taken from the funerary rites, according to Diodorus. Orpheism was a doctrine taken from the funerary rites of Egypt and its doctrine of the other world, the Greeks Hades, the Kemetic Duat, right? Demeter was a transmission of the rites of Auset and Asar, right? Who they call Dionysus, and these rites were brought to Greece by Melampus, right? And the Daedalus account of the labyrinth of the king Minos was copied from the labyrinth of Kemet, right? This isn't to like give Kemet all of its props and take everything away from other civilizations. This is just putting things into perspective. You know, now we have to look at Thales, right? Thales was a Phoenician by descent, which means that his ancestors were black people. Thales traveled to Kemet and to Babylon. After studying in both Kemet and Babylon, he opened a school on philosophy, teaching what he learned in both nations. Right? Thales studied in Kemet, Thales studied in Babylon, and then he opens his own school. And then when he retired, Pythagoras came to him. The father of Western philosophy came and studied with him. After learning all, and then after Pythagoras learned all that he could, Thales then sent Pythagoras where? To Memphis to learn, from which he came to Greece and became popular for his knowledge. That's just like somebody going to school, then going to the hood and telling people in the hood what they learned in school and getting popular from that knowledge. We have that same stuff going on today where a cat will read a book, tell that same information to somebody that's never heard it before, and then get props as if though they are the source of that information when there is a direct intellectual lineage of that information, right? Now, why am I bringing this up, right? Because Thales started the Miletus School of Philosophy, right? Thales started the Miletus School of Philosophy, in which a man named Anaximander came and studied. Now, what did Anaximander teach? Anaximander taught that man evolved or came from fish. Now, it was a little wild philosophy. It's not necessarily evolution as we know it, because essentially he said within the form of the fish was the man, right? Within the form of the fish was the man. And essentially he said this because if all things started in water, then that which began in water must have had what it needed to survive in water before coming up on land, right? But now look at this. Anaximander studied with who? He studied with Thales. Who studied with who? Thales studied in Egypt and Babylon. That's where Thales studied, right? So when we're listening to Anaximander speak, we're actually listening to the echoes of Kemetic philosophy, to the echoes of Babylonian philosophy. This is what we're hearing. Understand this, because the ancients wrote down a lot, but a lot of the Kemetic philosophy was lost in myth. This is what the Kemites wrote up on the walls, was the mythological, information that they had inside their spirituality. So when we look for deeper information on how they ran their society, we have to look in other documents. The literature of Egypt does contain a lot, but we also have to look at the information that was written down when these other groups came into Kemet and ruled, because then they tended not to adhere to the tradition of not writing information down and began to write information down. And so now, why do I say that? I say that to say this. The concept that man changed form throughout time is old, right? It's an old concept. And the melanated mind has considered this concept since time immemorial. Since beginningless time, we have known that we have come from a source and have changed over time. Now, these are theories as to what exactly happened. We do not know what happened, but people theorize. That's all it is. It is not definitive. It cannot be definitive. Why? Because we were not there. The most we can do is propose or say, this is what I think happened. This is how I think it went down. This is what I think went, this way or that way, to explain certain things, but that's it. It's all theory, and they knew it. Everybody knows it. Everything is theory, especially when it is so far in the past. Now, anything other than that, I would beware of. You know, like, unfortunately, I know many of you want to say, I am not connected to these other people on the planet. You want to divorce yourself. Yo, what's up, brother Anthony? I'm debating Shake on Bigo, this little app we're both on. The brother challenged me on boom, the brother challenged me on the origin of man, right? And so yeah, I'm actually just practicing, tell you the truth. I know my little fan base is small, so I'm just practicing. Because one thing I noticed about myself is my delivery can be kind of boring. I've watched my own presentations and got bored myself. So I need to spice up my delivery. So this is just me practicing, brother. Yo, but man, I got mad respect for your scholarship, bro. Mad respect for your scholarship. Hope you're doing well and blessed. Oh, peace. Appreciate that, family. But so that's what we're discussing. So I was talking about I don't know when you came in, but Anaximander, who studied in the Miletus school of Ionian Greek philosophy, who studied under Thales, and Thales studied in Kemet. I'm saying that we can see that whatever Anaximander is saying is kind of like watered down Kemetic philosophy, and we're looking at how he is trying to explain human origins, coming out from fish, right? When you look up Anaximander and his philosophy on how humans came to be, yeah, okay, very precise. But man, you know what it is? My goal is to influence. My goal is to influence. Hmm. That I have to say, the goal is to influence. And so I have to learn to get out here and to be more engaging with people. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning that. I'm definitely having to learn that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's really interesting, because you can get into books so much. You can get lost in the world of books and coming up with these concepts. Yes, agreed. Um, and I want to say this though. Like, I know you and I don't know each other that well at all, actually. But I spend a lot of time in meditation retreats. You know what I'm saying? Well, no, this is what I'm explaining to you. And in those retreats, I go within and I experience, different things, so on and so forth. That is for my own personal edification. However, there is a conversation that I want to have with brothers and sisters, and I want to be able to reach them for so many times, so many times, so many times. You know, uh, Everybody tells me, and I'm sure you hear this too. Um, Break it down so that it's like baby food, right? Break it down like I'm a kindergartner. Everybody keeps telling me that, and that's kind of interesting. So what I'm gonna do tonight, and everybody that I'm going to be speaking to tonight, they have this what I call Afrophobia, right? They have Afrophobia, and they're almost in that poetic, mythical mindset. Ha ha ha! Keep it simple. That's what I got to practice, brother. But they have this poetic, mythical mindset where they would rather believe in aliens and mythical creatures that started civilization instead of, what actually took place, and understanding that the melanated mind engaged this environment to try to understand it and come up with civilizing concepts, right? That's hard for them to grasp. And so the goal, I know I have to grab the emotions as well as the mind. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, before the debate is at 10 o'clock tonight. And so before the debate, I'm practicing what I'm gonna say and how I'm gonna say it. And I figured I would do this in a public platform, just to get used to it. That's what the deal is. You know what I'm saying? Ah, you got me on the pathos ethos logos. I've heard it before. It's not something in the vocabulary. You know, So you have to break that down. I could Google it, but don't feel like it. So that's what I'm doing tonight. That's what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. But so my opponent is gonna try to he discusses things as if though he said, I don't think the Egyptians built the pyramids because if Ham is the father of Egypt, we know that the pyramids are older than the genealogy or lineage of Ham. When someone is saying that, they're trying to break out of this spell that the Bible is cast upon the mind, right? He's looking for answers, but it's conflicting with his biblical knowledge. Why? Because the Bible is mythology. It is mythology. It's interesting, it's actually really valuable. Emotion, logos, yeah, logic, ethics. Gotcha. Pathology, emotions, pathos, gotcha. um he the Bible, what the Jews did in their captivity with other people is they took other people's stories of personal spiritual transformation and turned it into their own stories, but made it a literal thing. That's the problem. You got to look at it. These stories were esoteric metaphysical stories of personal transformation in these other cultures. That was the purpose they served. I mean, sure, of course, some people believed in it. You can't get around that. That's what I gotta appeal to, is that emotion. Just to let you know, brother, that's what my appeal is to, is the emotion. The emotion and the logic. And I can't lose people and take them step by step. So I have to practice this. That's me. This is my thing. I definitely got to practice it because we have to get our people to be critical thinkers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what he's doing. We have to get our people to be critical thinkers, and we have to give them, intellectual methods of analysis, that will allow them to look at a piece of information and then have the ability to intellectually and mentally compare it at the same time. You understand? So they can break free of the mythos. The mind of man in its beginning, in its infancy stage, it believes in mythology. Children believe in Santa Claus. They believe in the tooth fairy, so on and so forth. These are mythologies that are created by all cultures, and intelligent cultures embed those myths with knowledge and information so that when the child is old enough, they can be initiated into the higher levels and degrees of that knowledge, which keeps their culture and civilization going, right? The problem is this: the biblical narrative that these brothers and sisters adhere to and all of the Abrahamic faiths want to tell you that this joint is true. Forget that the flood of Noah mimics the flood of Utnapishtim damn near 1-to-1. You know what I'm saying? Forget that. Forget that, woman being created from a rib comes right out of the Bible and Mesopotamia at the same time. Forget the similarities. This is the truth. We have to break our brothers and sisters of this habit, and this has to be done. And I appreciate your encouragement, brother Harris, VIP brother. Um, which is dope. This is actually dope for me because I've never, engaged in a debate. So win or lose for me, it's a win because it is an experience. It is an experience to be had and to be cultivated, you know. So that's what this is going to be about tonight. And then really, it's not even about getting people on Team Kemet, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? This is really about getting people on team critical analysis. You know, we have to get people to analyze critically, and we have to get them out of their biases. We have to love everything that came from the African mind. It's not just things in Kemet. That's too limiting. We were after and we were before. we were there and we were beyond. Everything that was created on the planet came from a melanated mind. Like all of it is ours. We have to claim it, we have to understand it, and use it in a balanced thing. You know what I'm saying? This nationalistic, limited understanding of how you identify with this and these are your people, so on and so forth, that's limiting. And it is not necessarily really the truth of human history. One thing about human history that is correct is that humans, like evolution, adapt and change to their environment. Human physiology adapts and changes to its environment. Human psychology, theology adapts and changes to the environment. This is what we call in African studies synchronism, right? Syncretism. You know what I'm saying? Africans, man, I wish I could throw up a link, man. I'm just learning how to do this joint. But this is like YouTube Studio Live. I can't do a link, brother. Boom. But that's one thing that I noticed about, history. You know what I'm saying? Evolution, adaptation, evolution physiologically, biologically, evolution psychologically. This is what is the truth. When you look at human interaction, human migration, this is what you see. Humans changing to fit and adapt their environments. Humans changing their body. Africans changing their body so that they can live and thrive in their environment. Africans changing their mind so they can live and thrive in their environment. All right, brother. Appreciate that, family. Man, I don't even... all right. So, and this is the truth of the matter, if we get stuck into this like literal concrete way of thinking, all things that do not know how to move and evolve and change die. If a tree does not know how to sway in the wind, it will break. That's why they build buildings so that they can sway, so that it can move with the flow of things. This is what, when you look at Kemetic philosophy, which is African philosophy, this is what it did. It was not static. It's not static like the literal interpretation of the Bible. It's not static like the literal interpretation of the Quran. It's not static like the literal interpretation of the Pentateuch. You understand? It is ever flowing like nature. All right, brother. Yo, I'm going to be off. This was the practice. I think your presence here is showing me I'm going to do well. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the high intellect I'm trying to match. And we're going to rock this. I'm gonna do some sort of recording, something like that, so that it can be live streamed and people can hear it. But yo, peace and blessings. Hope all is well and blessed with you, brother. Good luck in you and your endeavors. Peace, bro.